Okay, so here's a question for you. How do we make decisions? How do we arrive at decisions if we are purely materialistic beings? If we have no immaterial, supernatural component? Well, I'm walking into a sandwich shop now and I'm going to buy a sandwich. The first thing I'm going to need is information. What do I mean by information? Well, the first thing I need is my state of hunger. I need to be aware of my state of hunger. Do I want a sandwich? Do I want a big sandwich? Do I want a small sandwich? The next thing I need to know is what sandwiches are on offer. How much do the sandwiches cost? How fresh do the different sandwiches look? That's the first thing, information. The second thing I'm going to base my decision on is on preferences. We all have innate predispositions towards certain things. I've got to tell you, I don't particularly like tuna and sweet corn sandwiches. I can eat them if I have to, but I'm not particularly keen. So all the informational sources are going to have to lean very, very much towards the tuna and sweet corn. The other sandwiches are going to have to look really manky. The tuna and sweet corn sandwiches are going to have to be really cheap before I go for the tuna and sweet corn option. I'm more likely to go for a beef sandwich or a BLT or something like that. Okay, so we all have these preferences, and every decision we make is coloured by these preferences, by these predispositions. Now my point to you is that every decision our materialistic brain makes is based on information and predisposition, and that's it. Now there could be a random factor. It could be that the occasional radioactive decay in my brain just happens to trigger a neuron which just tilts the balance slightly on a knife-edge decision to another decision. But is that free will? Is a random process such as that free will? Well, we have no control over it. I don't think anybody, theist or atheist, anybody of any philosophical bent would describe that as free will. So let's try and leave randomness to one side. My decisions are based on preference and information. Now, some people will say that makes it utterly deterministic. If somebody could know the exact state of my brain and the exact state of the information, the sandwiches that are available, their costs, the state of my hunger, if they knew those two things, they could tell me with absolute certainty what decision I would make. And that makes it very deterministic. Well, I think that's probably right. And what theists say is, well, that's not a very good scenario. But there is hope, because the soul takes us away from that. That gives us genuine free will. The soul makes genuine choices, unlike this deterministic scenario. So this is the question. This is the point of this video, because this is a question I've brought up several times in comments and in PMs over the past 3 or 4 months, and nobody has given me an answer to this. The question is, what would an immaterial soul bring to the mix that the brain cannot work on? Presumably a soul has preferences. Presumably it isn't utterly neutral. And if it was utterly neutral, that would only make the situation worse. So the soul's going to have a character. Presumably it'll have preferences, it'll have predispositions. But that's no different to the brain having preferences and predispositions. Presumably the soul is going to work on information. It has to at least know you're in the sandwich shop to know that you've got the opportunity to buy a sandwich. It needs to know what sandwiches are available. It needs to know the cost of the sandwiches. It needs to know what kind of, whether the fillings look manky or whether a particular sandwich looks absolutely gorgeous. It needs all these bits of external information just the same as the material brain would need. It needs information, and it needs preferences, predispositions. It needs a character. Now, randomness could work on the soul, but just the same as we dismissed randomness for the brain, we can surely dismiss randomness for the soul. It's not a very edifying notion of free will in any event. So my question is, other than preferences and information, what else is there? What fourth way, other than those two and randomness, can you tell me about that's going to make the difference between what a soul can bring to free will to make it less deterministic than what a materialistic brain could bring to the mix with regards to free will? That's the question. I cannot think of anything. I cannot think of anything other than external information and preferences. I can't think of anything else. If you can, well, good on you. Let me know, because that's the challenge, that's the question. Thank you for watching the video.